My 29F husband, 31 meters, wants to sleep with my friends. My 29F husband, 31M, admitted to wanting to sleep with my friends during sex. My husband and I have been married for 3 years now, together for 8, and have been in a rocky spot. Sex is very spotty. He's distant and often on his phone, doesn't want to go to the gym together or help cook dinner, help around the house, etc. We've both gone back into therapy to work through our mental health issues. And the other night, after a fairly dramatic fight, we had a few drinks and slipped into the bedroom for makeup sex. I was so happy to finally be connecting with him sexually. Except it took a turn. Our normal dirty talk escalated to a place I've never heard from him before. He asked if I ever considered bringing another person in, and started to talk about my 2 best friends. I changed the subject and diverted because the thought made me physically all in super insecure. I have a very small group of female friends and I just feel violated that he considered them in such a way, so much so he asked me if I would bring them in. He brought it back up again, talking about who he'd rather do and what he thinks about with them, and I wanted to cry. I should have spoken up, but I was just so happy to be connecting with him I couldn't bring myself to do so. I'm now so uncomfortable, resentful, and feel cheap for some dumb reason. Would you take this as a red flag? Am I overthinking crazy drunk sex, and should I just trust my husband? How should I approach this, if at all? Oh hun, I am so sorry. He took a moment that was supposed to be about intimacy and healing and reconnecting, and turned it into a moment about his dirty porn fantasies that didn't include you. The lack of caring and awareness, the sheer unthinking spitefulness of it, is dreadful. He doesn't care if he hurts you. Your emotional state doesn't matter at all, unless it inconveniences him. I think it's time you end it. He took the first moment of intimacy and used it to embarrass and degrade you. Speak to him about it tonight and tell him you're disgusted with him and you will be leaving. You said he always on his phone. Is he talking to one of them? Okay, having this conversation is one thing, but having it when the 2 of you are trying to reconnect after a rough patch is horrible timing. Of course you feel resentful. I think you should tell him you were hurt by it and that while the 2 of you are working on improving your marriage, those kinds of topics are not appropriate, even if he just meant it as fantasy dirty talk. You'll never be able to forget what he said. He wants to have sex with your friends. And understandably, the thought of it makes you sick. He said it. It's out there. And you can't unring a bell. You'll never feel the same way about him again. And from what you've said, the relationship is deteriorating anyway. I wouldn't waste any more time with him. And warn your friends about him. Yes. This is a huge, bright red flag. This is not just crazy drunk sex. It's him sharing something he's been thinking about for a while. Maybe the alcohol made him more inclined to say it out loud. But it doesn't change that it's actually what he wants. Especially because he brought it up again and phrased it in that way. I dated someone like this a few years after college, and if your husband is anything like my ex, then this is only the tip of the iceberg. This behavior is very consistent with people who are cheaters or who will cheat in the future. It's also consistent with people who have strong porn addictions and lose their grip on what makes a healthy relationship function, i.e., feel entitled to fantasies that might be extremely hurtful to their partners. I don't know the whole situation of your relationship, but I wanted to bring these up in case they resonated with you. It could just be because of my past, but I'm having a really strong visceral reaction to your post and so strongly feel like this is not an emotionally safe relationship to stay in, especially if I'm assuming correctly that monogamy and fidelity are strong values for you. Whatever you do, I just want to emphasize that it's not some dumb reason why you are feeling this way. It's legitimate hurt with a very clear cause, and you owe it to yourself to take your feelings and gut instincts seriously. Please leave this relationship up. You will never be able to forget this, and moreover, you will never even feel comfortable bringing your husband around your friends anymore. In general, he is an insensitive and selfish jerk that does not deserve you. He has planted a seed of insecurity in your mind, and you will forever feel insecure when he is around other women. This relationship has no future, and you deserve much better. Please don't waste more of your life on him. But I was just so happy to be connecting with him, I couldn't bring myself. But you weren't connecting with him. You were freaked out and sad, and he's just humping away with no regard for your feelings. I'm sorry this is happening. My trust would be damaged. What is more gross? The idea he was using your vagina while fantasizing about others. Or that he cares so little about you compared to a few seconds orgasm that he would traumatize your confidence and sex life? Ask him and let us know. The more I read these relationship stories, the more I am glad I am single. Your husband will probably sleep with your friends, if they are willing, whether you agree or not. Or he's already cheating with them and is using this pathetic, opening the marriage, to legalize what he and your friends have already been doing behind your back. If you don't leave him, I will find you and carry your suitcase, babe. This is disgusting. He obviously is so self-centered, he only thinks of himself. PLs just do us all a massive solid and sleep with his closest adult male relative. Thanks you and goodbye. He's a cheater, he's a red flag, and you're not overthinking at all. If anything, you're benef too naive. Drunk words are sober thoughts. Him thinking about your friends sexually isn't something that just popped into his head at that moment. Those thoughts must have been lingering there and ruminating for a long while. The fact he chose to speak on it while being intimate with you speaks a lot to how little he respected you and the intimacy you were sharing. Him wanting to not only be with other women but to be specifically with your best friends is appalling and disgusting. How should I approach this, if at all? If you're both in couples therapy, bring it up there, since it would be a safe space for you to do so, and you won't feel ganged up, gaslit by him if he doesn't like what you have to say about the subject. Should I just trust my husband? With the way he's acting, I wouldn't fully trust him to not be up to no good. Always on the phone, distant, never helping out around the house, constant fighting, and now bringing up potential threesomes with not just any women but your best friends. All that is enough to be weary. If you want to continue to be married, you'll have to for sure set major boundaries with him. Therapy individually and jointly is a must. Perhaps make it a rule that for a set time during the day you both detach from your phones and spend that time talking or just spending time with each other. Rekindle whatever spark you had previously. Technology is great, but it can also be a cause for disruption in a relationship. Whatever you choose to do, best of luck. Absolute dickhead he is. Please run in the opposite direction. Whether or not you have an open marriage is one of those things you discuss when you are talking about what kind of marriage you want. Not after getting married. The only time you talk about it after you get married is if before you get married the answer from both was maybe. Too many times that spouses who assumed they were in a monogamous marriage get asked this question by their spouse. It's because the other spouse has already opened the marriage without their consent. I'm sorry. That's literally so sickening. I don't even know what to tell you. I would have to leave him. What he did was so disrespectful. Lady, leave this guy. Tells you he wants to sleep with your friends. Huh? Not normal op. This is hard to consider. But do you want to be married to someone like that for the next 30 years? I wouldn't. The marriage was over before this moment. You had a fight, then drinks, then sex? That's not a very healthy way of dealing with problems. This marriage is over.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.